said it's always the dream team.
Drink.
Oh, the dream or the green team?
Sorry.
So, are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, so we're all sitting here. So whenever you want to start, we're ready to go.
Okay, Sean, I've started recording.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. Hopefully everybody's able to view my screen. You should be seeing WCAG Cam up and on display. Can we verify that everybody's able to see?
Yep.
Very good.
Oh, hey,
Okay.
Sean, one thing I forgot to tell you is every once in a while we need to stop and let him translate what you've stated to them so they'll be able to follow.
Okay.
Yeah, very important. Otherwise nobody's going to know what we're talking about except for me.
Okay. Very good. Just a quick description. WCAG Cam, owned by the Home Ag Group, is a AutoCAD-based design, engineering, and manufacturing software. It has an open SQL database, writing instantaneously between that and AutoCAD. Most of our customers utilize this technology and manage a library of objects, cabinets, whatever we might want to label them. And I want to show you a few elements today of how you can work within the system, both from an engineering standpoint, but also from a design standpoint, and to see the results of what you're getting, which is, of course, the manufacturing output, reporting, costing, all of those kinds of things as well. So
okay, let me go through that section with them. Sometimes we forget that they have no idea what you're saying, so I got to give them a little bit of an update here.
Yes.
Bueno, so this is está grabando esto también poniendo en el display. Este es un programa, uno de los mejores realmente en el mundo, y es a base de AutoCAD, pero es un sistema de diseño y desarrollo y producción. Bastante interesante. Y cotizaciones y todo. Just ver que lo más que se Okay, go ahead.
Very good. Primary use, panel.
Go ahead.
Our customers from kitchens, commercial projects, store fixtures, shop fitting, all of those kinds of industries are a great fit and opportunity. I thought today we would begin with just seeing how easy it is to be able to draw some walls, lay out cabinets, and then we'll work on making all kinds of changes and looking at different interfaces. Okay? So to begin with this, I'm just going to click on the Room tab and say that I want to be able to insert a wall. There are, of course, a number of options that you can have within this. Do we want to close off the wall, create ceilings, floors, create specific wall heights, thicknesses, any of those kind of things? You can have predefined shapes to be able to work from, or even trace from an architect's drawing. Today we'll just make a free construction, and you'll notice that it allows me to work within AutoCAD to be able to design what I want. So I'm going to give it some dimensional information. And I could, of course, continue adding, or if you hit enter in AutoCAD, then it ends the command and we have the walls that we have selected, drawn within the system. I want to introduce you to our library of data. Our customers typically like to organize and to be able to manage all of their data. And I'll show you what I mean by managing of data. These are not just isolated models or objects. They actually all work together, so you could have variables that could control and transform the entire library for this particular order we're working on, or at the level of an individual cabinet. I'll show you. So we've got some categories, and so if I open that up, then you see more objects below. All of these are fully parametric objects, so anything you create in the system is automatically parametric. Not only able to change simple things like height, width, and depth, but literally any parameter about the object as well. So I'm just going to take and select one of these. Notice that I get a window that tells me what to do. I could put it out in free space, or I could select an object. In this case, I selected the wall. Notice that it gives me a phantom or a ghost to be able to work with, so I could easily place it wherever I want to go. If I run past this wall and onto the next, it knows how to automatically deal with all the rotations. It has insertion points that you could work with. So if I wanted to position this in the back corner, it might be easier for me to be able to adjust and have a different insertion point for it. So anyway, we'll go ahead and stick this in, and I'm going to tell this that I want to draw multiple of the same object. So as soon as it's done, I'm going to select it as a reference object. Here I could place it to the left, to the right, above, below, front, or back. In this case, we'll just select to the right. And so now we have a couple of these objects in the drawing. I'm going to zoom in and let your screen catch up just so that you can see the level and quality of detail, even all the way down to the exact thickness and the radiuses of the banding, all the hardware parts, machining operations. All of these things are done specifically to show the exact detail. So what you see in the AutoCAD drawing is exactly what we output for manufacturing. Let's go to...
Okay, let me explain that for a minute here.
Yes.
Básicamente, la ventaja de sobre nosotros que estamos dibujando, vamos a pasar directamente a la planta. Okay, go ahead.
Very good. So let's just go select something from another category. And so in this case, I selected the reference object. We're going to make sure that we position it the way that we want and be able to place it also within the drawing perfectly. Let's do one more just as an example, and to say that we want to throw in some kind of a wall cabinet, set its perfect height off the ground. Notice that we have the abilities to deal with whatever it is that we want. So in this case, I just adjusted its width or its depth or whatever it is that you want to do. And so that becomes exactly what we specify it to be able to accomplish. I want to make sure that we understand that not only do we have this model and that it can be available so that we can do renderings and presentation views for it, but also from the shop drawing or submittal side of things, we have automated the process so that we automatically generate for you all of those detail drawings. So there is now the 2D drawings, which are linked to the 3D model. Everything is perfect and precise. The gaps, the edge banding, the material thicknesses, all of that stuff is exact. We might want to generate from this, and we'll tell this that we want to have those settings and that we want to generate an elevation drawing from that plan. So now we have the 2D drawings that have all been created, and again, we see the door swings and all of the perfect gaps and reveals, so they're very precise in the drawing of what they are. We also could create from this sectional views. So in this case, I'm going to tell this that I want to select these objects and include the wall in my section. I'll tell it where I want to make it cut and which side I want to cut it from. I'm going to label it as A-A and generate the sectional view for this as well.
Okay, I've got a question here. Obviously, we're not going to come in close to touching all the features, but one feature that's kind of interesting is specifying edge banding. Let's say you want to go from a 1mm edge band to a 3mm edge band on all these products. Is there a quick way to do that?
Yeah, and I'm going to show you multiple ways to do that, but just so that we understand that we have two interfaces to work from. This is what I call the engineering side of it, and then we have the design side. I'll show you the design side of it first. So if I wanted to affect this whole job, I could literally go to the global settings, and I could say, hey, I want to select particular materials and those kind of things. So I can see that I have a particular core or something that I want to choose from. Here would be my edge banding settings. So this was set for a particular one. Do I want PVC, veneer, whatever it is? What thickness do I want for this? And you can have a drop-down list of what those are. And then the specific color, those kinds of things as well. So very quickly, you could click into one location and set the way that these will behave for everything within the job. I want to make sure that we understand you could make these settings before you started drawing cabinets, and they would all draw that way. You could have already drawn all of them, and if you click this, it will transform and redraw them all, or it could be part way in between. So you have really nice ways to be able to manage that. From the engineering side, we also have an interface for this. It's called the order-related variables. And if we're looking at this, we can see that if we come down to our edge band settings and we look at what it is that we're choosing, we have the ability to set and to be able to select the actual bandings that we want. And so I could come down and choose from, PVC, melamine edges, ABS, whatever it is, solid wood profiles, and whatever selection that we want. So if I wanted to make a change to this from 3 millimeter to 2 millimeter, I could in an instant, and it would affect every single thing within the job. However, I want to introduce you to the selection of parts and edges as well. So as an example, if I were working on this particular job and I had something that I wanted to change, I literally could select multiple edges. For example, if I wanted, I could literally select the edges that on the front of this and the front of this. So now I have those two edges selected. If you'll notice that they also have a particular material that is associated with them. And if I wanted to, I could select from this and to be able to go right back out here and say, I want to change these in this particular case to happen to be this one that would be different. And so these edges now change the ones that I just did, and it updated now all of the drawings that we have done. So it went from 3 millimeter in those particular cases to a 0.5 millimeter in that exact deal, and also caused the drawings, the 2D drawings that were associated with it, to be updated to reflect exactly those kind of things. So if we looked at it from the standpoint of our drawing now, we would have that reflection in what it is that we're doing. So various ways to be able to do that. So you can work down at one edge of one part, multiple edges of multiple parts. You could affect the, for a whole product, that would be the article-related variables. So here we could make the changes just for this, one specific article that we work on, or any way that you want to do it.
Puedes seleccionar un canto, un proyecto, un mueble en este lado y cambias todo y lo lista de materiales, dimensiones, imaginado. Vamos a ver esto. Okay, go ahead.
Very good. So we were working on the 2D drawings as we're coming across this. So I just want to finish this real fast and to be able to say that we might want to also work on dimensioning, annotations, those kind of things. And so we'll go ahead and do this and generate our shop drawings for this. So now these all have been dimensioned, line types, all that stuff configurable for the way that you want. We could easily tell this that we want to go ahead and load, if they're familiar with AutoCAD, a paper space border, and to be able to work within this. So I could literally link a view and say, hey, I want my elevation only in this view. I want this to be able to be my plan view. I want this to be able to be my sectional view. And then maybe I want to take this and to be able to have it represent the 3D view of it and to have it displayed in whatever kind of a form that we might want.
When you say whatever kind of form that we want, what kind of forms are they?
So they're all about AutoCAD, and so in this case I've got lighting and stuff turned on we might want to turn off, but I just changed it from, in this particular case, from here, and I'll just do it this way. So if you look and see, there are built-in choices within AutoCAD, so you could look at it as 2D wireframe, 3D hidden, 3D wireframe, conceptual, hidden, realistic, shaded, X-ray, sketchy, shades of gray, and all of those kind of things, in addition to being able to generate the actual renderings.
¿Sabes qué es esto?
En todas las presentaciones de
Okay.
renderizado, wireframe.
Okay. All right. They got that. These guys are also drafted, so they following those kind of things pretty easily. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the things that will commonly happen, like let's notice that we have a 40-inch tall cabinet, and maybe we have a situation to where something needs to be able to change within the within this. So, for example, if I said that I wanted to select at a product level and to be able to go get this, I could then also change and say, hey, I don't like this. I want to change this to 42 1/8 inch. And if I do that, then the product is not only going to change, but again, it's asking me about the association for the rest of the drawings. And so now, not only is it created the model correctly, but it's now updating the actual drawing of it. And so then we get a newly dimensioned drawing, so that we're all up to date. That's all that we had to do in order to be able to get everything done the way that we want.
So give me 1 minute here, 1 second here. Estoy también eso es obvio. Está cambiando medidas
Para ajustar los
para
fondos.
todos está cambiando y
Todo eso tiene una programación que se llama Autolift.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so the 2D drawings are tied to the 3D model. And so that makes it nice, so I never have to worry about doing anything manually with the 2D model. So anyway, there's a lot of things that we can do. One that I want us to understand is that this is not only design and engineering, but it's also manufacturing data. If we wanted to be able to send this to production, literally it would be as easy as saying that we want to save the orders. I'm going to use today's date and just say 8/12/16. Here I'm going to tell it to automatically make a G-code for the appropriate things for single part kind of processing, and I'm going to transfer the data over to CutWrite, which does our optimization and nesting algorithms. So now that that is done, I'm going to tell it the one I want it to use. The files are all created. We could open up if we wanted to view this in CutWrite, so maybe we can see both panel optimization and nesting simultaneously from the same software and database. We're going to tell it the job we want to be looking at, the one that I named exactly 8/12/16. So now all of these are available within the CutWrite interface. Here I have opportunities to make changes even to it. So for example, if I wanted to change out particular material, let's take this as data, and let's suggest that what we want to do, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to tell this that I want to optimize some of this, but not all of it. We could have this coming, how do I say this, automatic from the software. And so if I wanted to, for example, take some of this and tell it that I want it to happen with nesting. So I'm just going to copy this. Just kind of a Windows function is all that I'm doing at this particular case, so that I've got some of these going to the saw and some of these going to nesting. So now if I selected on this, it's saved the cut list, and now it's generating the data for both of these. So if we look at the results, if we see, we select on the saw first and want to look at the pattern. So now we have optimized and we are ready to send to the saw. So here is the button, and it would output the file that we would want to run automatically the programs at the saw. If we click on the router icon, we would see the things that were sent to nesting, and so we would have generated the G-code, and this is where we would have sent out the machine-specific file for the CNC to do these operations as well.
Okay, give me just 1 minute here. Este optimización, this optimization for a saw, right?
This one is the nesting. This one is the saw.
Which one is this? This is the saw?
So you see it highlighted where it says saw or highlighted when it says router?
Okay. Tierra y router. Esta optimización es para la tierra.
Okay.
Y puedes, bueno, lo normal es bajar este archivo directamente a la tierra.
Cuando se hace el cabeza el total de
Eso es por el router.
tú vas definiendo cuál es para router y cuál para tierra. Ahí tiene una columna donde tú decides que va para qué máquina, y cuando hace la optimización separa para qué máquina la optimización de cada uno.
Parte de la instalación de este programa, ellos tienen que enlazar todas las máquinas en el programa. Okay, go ahead.
Very good. So the important thing to get from this is that one software, meaning one database of materials, is able to do both. That means that if I can create reusable scrap at either the saw or the CNC, it's in one database, so it can be consumed by either one as well.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Now let me explain that. También el programa está reconociendo que es scrap. Okay. Después va a imprimir un código de barra y lo mete en el inventario de scrap para proyectos futuros para sacar este scrap. Tú puedes definir qué tamaño tú consideras de scrap y he asked if, can we go back real quickly to that spreadsheet showing those columns of information?
Yes, sir.
Is that hard to get back to?
Yeah.
I appreciate your patience with the translating here.
Not a problem at all.
La verdad es imposible ver todos los puntos. Es just completamente imposible, pero estamos regresando. Este es para optimizar para sierras y labras.
Mira, MDF, vino chirri.
MDF and here. Okay.
Aquí.
Now, what are the different optimizations? OFP is optimizing for a saw, and Nest is optimizing for a router. Basically.
That is correct.
Okay. Sí, es correcto. Cuando dices Nest es por un CNC. Cuando dices OPT es para una sierra.
Yeah,
okay,
so the main differences are this. When we're optimizing to a saw, we can stack boards, right, and cut multiple at a time. However, every cut must go from one side of the board to the other. In the routing, it's one sheet at a time, but it can make paths for however the router bit can move.
Okay, let me say that real quick. Bueno, por sierras tú puedes activar los piezas y los cortes están un lado por el otro. Optimizar por un router normalmente es una hoja y otra cosa. Okay, go ahead.
Ahí se pueden meter fallas, ¿no? Se les da diferentes nombres.
Oh, yeah.
Porque que es un inventario y hay
Okay, go ahead.
Anything else we need to cover in CutRight before I move on?
No, I think we see it.
Okay.
But can we see a yield or something like that? Or that's
A what?
What's the yield on this particular project?
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said no, so I just closed it. Let me reopen it.
No, that's not that big a deal. I just wondered, later we'll see what kind of yield we got out of the material, something like that.
Well, this was a very small job, obviously. You know, it just had a few cabinets in it. And so if we looked at, I'll just run it through this again so that you can see the process one more time. So again, this is not about the quality of the algorithm, because it only has, for example, going to the saw is only 28 parts. If you give an optimizer only 28 parts, you know, it's going to only give you so good. So if we looked at this, we would see that we had scrap of 17.67%, We had offcuts that we were able to use in a 74% yield. But again, that's because it was such a small amount of parts. That make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. This is porcentaje de mujer que es resultado, pero con más volumen. Y en la lista tú puedes ver 50 muebles de por ejemplo. 2 estos, 50 estos, 15 estos. No,
Yep.
es totalmente un cuarto. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So for operations that are using the Sawyer to program in the absolute and incremental cuts, typically it's about a 10% improvement of yield that you'll get by using this optimization algorithm versus doing it manually.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Okay, very good. We're watching. Go ahead.
I can close cut right now?
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. Thanks.
Okay, so let me back up here. So I'm back in the WoodCAD CAM software. Since we saved that order, we might also want to look at output. I know one of the things you said would be important would be able to see that just as we're drawing something, we can instantaneously see the results of its cost. I don't have costs set for all of my materials. You can see that I set some of them, but I haven't set all of them. So here, in one click of a button, I can see the cost for all of the sheet stock, all of the edge banding, all of the hardware, and even all of the manufacturing costs as I've set them up in my system. How long it takes on the CNC, you know, and that's attributed to values on the saw for assembly, whatever it is that you want. And so then these calculations along with the materials can give you a price for the project as you draw it.
Okay, beautiful. Let me explain that real quickly. Está sumando los costos por el proyecto, porque en este caso el proyecto es más que un mueble, y puede ser por un mueble también, en tiempo real. So, en cualquier segundo tú sabes cuántos costos deben estar.
¿Y qué tiempo?
Y también va a decir cuánto tiempo tienes para fabricarla, considerando las máquinas que van a usar. Also, I'm just saying it, I don't know if it's in real time or not, but the program tells them how much their machine time is. So they're going to have, to make this, you're going to have 4 hours of machine time or whatever it is. And that's helpful information. We don't have that now. I don't see that here, but I know that the program can produce that.
That is correct. The calculations manager can allow you to set it up the way that you want to calculate for your specific factory.
Okay, very good. You can keep moving. I'm all
very good. Lots of other reports that are built into the system. As I mentioned earlier, it's an open SQL database. We use Microsoft reporting services, so you can make your own or customize any of the reports that you want. Okay?
Okay, perfect.
So something else we might want to see, all of the data is done. So, you know, for example, if we wanted to see what's in all the items in the work order, whatever it is, these are all just available for you to be able to see. So in a click of a button, I can know all the items that are going on the truck. I can know the totals that I have for particular things, including hardware, whatever that is. So I can go grab even all the way down to dowels if you want. You can set it up to calculate glue, finish, whatever it is that you want it to calculate, it can.
Okay, it's overwhelming, the number of reporting. I got the picture pretty clear. We can do basically anything.
Yep. I want to introduce you for a moment to, one more time, back to the design manager, just so that we see that we do have a way to select this differently. For example, I could select in and say I want to look at my base cabinets, and for example, I want to look at a 3-drawer unit, and in this case, I might want to be able to make some changes to it, so I want it to be 22 wide. Maybe I've got specific depth choices that I want to refine, and in going through this, I might have other things that I want to be able to do. For example, I want to select the drawer type for this, even maybe down to what edge banding that I want to select for it. Again, in separating that from the case and that kind of stuff, maybe I want to, you know, adjust whatever I want for drawer heights or whatever I want to do. And when I say OK to this, then I can place it anywhere. It doesn't require a wall or anything to be able to generate this object. And so now, directly from that, we have our exact specifications and this product from the library.
Okay, very good. Very good. Just hablando de el poder de librería. I'm making mistakes in Spanish here, and they're all giving me dirty looks. But one thing that fascinates me is you can change, and I think it'll fascinate them too, is you can change the assembly system. You can switch from minifix to wood dowels easily. That's something I'd like to highlight a little bit. Maybe that's now, maybe that's later, but just to mention it.
Yeah, let's do that, and let's make a new product from scratch. So we can see that I already have cabinets in the library, but let's look at how we could build something from nothing and then make it behave the way you want. Okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to say that I want to make a new object. In this case, you'll see that we have it. I'm going to adjust it and say I want a particular height, I want a specific width, and I want to control the depth of this. Now I can add parts and pieces to this that will behave in a certain way based on my selections. So I put a top, bottom, left, right, and a back in it. Let's first take this and tell it that we want to be able to divide it vertically, for example. I'll say I want to add a fixed shelf to it. I used a ratio of 1:1, so if I made this 78 high, it would remain exactly in the center. So it's parametric. I can have more than one division in being able to work in this. So again, if I change it, it now is making them all equal. However, we also can then make some of them fixed. Like, for example, I'm going to say that I want it to be 15 inches from the bottom, no matter what height that I make something, so that's remaining at 15 inches. So it does specifically what you want. I can also work visually into an area, and we're going to just tell this that we want to have a couple of drawers in the bottom. We can tell this that we want to be able to divide it not just vertically, but also horizontally. And in this case, I'll say 15IN:1. And so now I have the space. Every time that I'm creating a new space, there's another face for it. So now I can see that this front face, I'm going to tell this that I want it to become a door and hinge it on the left-hand side. And so now that's the way that it works. And let's come over to here and tell this that we want to be able to, let's make this, for example, a adjustable shelf, and we'll just stick it in where we want it to go. And so we'll say, okay, now I want you to see the way that this works. And by the way, I could say save as, give it a name, and put it in a category in the library. So let's notice that this particular top happened to be dowel construction. When I was in this original interface, if I was working on the top shelf, I could select from other tops that I have in my system. So if I wanted, I could have selected one that was using a particular fastener, or if I don't want to pick from that list, I can go all the way out to the element manager, and I can select a type of top that I might want to have that is predefined with the types of fasteners that you want. So instead of being dowel, it could be mini-fix, it could be cam and connecting bolt, it could be dado construction, it could be whatever it is that you decide that you want to be able to select. So just in being able to do that, it gives you an opportunity to make those kinds of decisions on the fly. You could also change it so that instead of being inset, where it fits in between the sides, that it became a top that is on top of the side, so that this program is smart to know that the shelf would get wider and that the side panels would get smaller.
Okay, very good. So we can change from dowels to minifix in that drawing?
Yeah, so whatever you have set up as your data, so if you had this, if you had a principle set up to be able to do minifix, for example, if I go grab this one, here's one that has some cams as an example. So if I selected this, that became the top that it's using. So now if we put it into the drawing, it's now using, and by the way, I could have set that up for a default. It's now using these particular fasteners in the locations that have been set for the descriptor of that type of top.
Okay, perfect.
So I would never, if I wanted, I could just make that my preference so that it would always use that, that particular top instead of the other one, and it would come in that way automatically.
And we define that for the shelves and the bottom and the back and everything, right?
Yeah, so if we looked at the element manager for just a moment, one of the very first things that we have is construction principles. And so we're able to select from this the types of things that we want to be able to use as our rules. And you can have more than one, but by being able to come over and to select from those rules, then you can say, hey, I want these things to happen this way, and that's the way they start. They just automatically happen for you. Okay?
Okay, very good.
So we're for sure going to be able to help you with the way that you want to do construction, and to make sure that it uses the hardware you want, the machining you want, all of that kind of stuff for sure.
Okay, then there's a bunch of hardware options in there, or we have to add the hardware options we like?
So all of the manufacturers from Europe, such as Grass and Hettich and Hafele, and all of those kind of companies already built their products into our WoodCAD CAM. So you have the ability to click a button out to what's called our iFern and go out online, select all the hardware you want, and bring it directly in your system.
All right, let me say that point. That's important on here. So, Hafele, Hettich, Bloom, Grass, todos están en la librería. Y so tú puedes buscar qué quieres y meterla. No tienes que ponerla. That's kind of a big point, I think. Okay,
yes,
go ahead.
and you can also add your own hardware. You know, it's a 3D AutoCAD file, and take it into our element manager and apply whatever machining you want, set up any values you want, and it's ready to be used.
Okay.
Very good. There's lots of things that I can show you. There's an ability beyond just parametrics to be able to work with AutoCAD. For example, if I just drew a shape here, let's just say that I want to make a AutoCAD shape that I liked right there. I literally could say I want to be able to select from parts, and I want to go select, for example, this part, and this part, and I want to tell these, oops, I clicked on edges, I apologize. Select here at a part level, not an edge level. So I could take these and I could literally say that I want to apply this AutoCAD shape now to all of these parts, and all of the machining is now done for that. So you can do that not only for multi-parts in one product, but I could also do, if we were looking at this even from an elevation, let's say that we needed some wiring to run through this. I literally could even do such a thing here. I need that kind of a deal. I want to be able to select and say, I need this part, this part, so even across multiple, how do I say that, across multiple products, I could even take this and to be able to apply machining, like if you had audio visual or cables or that kind of stuff you needed to be able to run through. So I can do that kind of work using AutoCAD across all of those products as well.
Estás hablando de flexibilidad. Sí. La flexibilidad de los programas para dibujar.
Sistemas de interiores.
Okay, no, we're looking good here.
Okay. So there's lots more things that I can show. Tell me, I'll pause at this stage and you guys tell me what would be important for you to know. Obviously, if we ran the software for the next 8 hours, we're still not going to get through all the things it can do.
Oh, I know that. And they know that too. These guys are trained SolidWorks guys. They know, but I don't think they can do all these things in SolidWorks, I can tell you that. Let me ask you if there's any particular question. A mí digo que pudimos, él puede hacer maestro por 8 horas y lo tocamos todo. Entonces, ¿hay X pregunta en capacidades?
Sobre lo de las máquinas.
Sobre el dibujo. Okay. ¿Cuál es su pregunta?
¿Qué tipo de parámetros se tienen que poner a la máquina? Porque hay veces que no siempre fabrica lo mismo.
Ah, ok.
Velocidades, distancias.
Bueno, esa es la próxima parte de producción, cambiando dibujos a información. But I think that's it. I mean, the one question that came up like the other day is not everything we do is rectangular like this. But that's where the router sim that we saw yesterday might help a little bit. But also you show that you can easily draw curves and things.
Absolutely. There are some of your products that are better suited for solid modeling, like with SolidWorks, and to interpret that from the router sim. However, there's many things, casework and those die walls, nurses stations, everything that's really panel processing. This product much superior over, because you can now manage the entire library or data set of objects.
That makes sense. Do you have anything in your library that's kind of crazy with curves and things on it?
We'll just make something if you'd like. One of the things that I thought might be interesting is I just added applied moldings to this particular product. Just selected it and it automatically did that for me.
Oh, that's a big deal. Let me say that, because we just quoted a project. Everybody's nervous about it because it's got applied molding, and they're not used to that here. That's kind of an important point. Everything we do is kind of flat. Okay. Él está mostrando cómo aplicar molduras. You know, and this is treated as an edge banding, huh? Or an edge treatment, or what is it?
What is? What was the question?
Can an applied molding be treated as an edge treatment, or is it a separate part, or what is it? I guess it depends what it is. If it's an edge.
It depends on what it is, but you can definitely have, it's called a profile is the way that we deal with it. So any edge can have any profile that you have in your system. So, for example, if I selected see something that would make good sense for you to do. Let's say that I wanted to go select this one edge of this door. So now I have selected it. So it has a particular type of edge that is put on it. It has a specific trim and all kinds of stuff that is related to it. However, what I could do is I could actually select out on this, and I could say that I don't anymore want this to be 3mm cherry, but I actually want this to be a machined profile or something like this. So it could be changed to something that's machined, or it could even be solid wood. So if I went over to this and said, I want to take this and have a decorative solid wood profile put onto this, then we can do that specific thing. We have a number of these things already built into the system, and you can add whichever ones that you might want to the system. So these are all available within the data, and if you just click on them, you'll see here's all the different kind of things that might get added in this particular case to an edge. So all we do is select one that we like, and then we're able to use that. So
these
hopefully that helps. We'll just take this one and say apply, and you'll see what happens if I would have selected one that, hold on a second. Just a moment. I selected one that didn't exist. Always the danger when you're when you're showing something you normally don't do. So just about there.
Para que vean ellos de se hacen los diferentes tipos de ensamble en los moldes: costado, cubierta, cubierta encima del costado, activarse con meter.
Okay, he's asking me to. Did we lose you?
I'm here.
Okay, I got it. I'll get back. He's asking me to. Guadalupe is asking me to show something that you mentioned a minute ago. That they like that they like. Guadalupe was in the first meeting. He said, and I think this is interesting, changing from a top that goes between the ends to a top that goes on top of the ends to a top that overhangs the ends to a top that's mitered between the ends, and how the hardware automatically changes between those separate things. That would say a lot about a lot of different things that we do here, not just tops, but the ability to make those changes. Does that make any sense? No?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, no, I'm asking you. Yep. Yeah, these
Okay.
guys don't understand English, so if I'm speaking English, I'm speaking to you. So.
Okay, so yeah, so here is a top that was in this for what it did, and if we wanted to change it to a different kind of a top, it could happen as a result of we selected a different one, and so now it behaves differently. So now I just made one that put in both dowels and cams as a result of it. I could also have a selection for this so that it was a different type of top, so that it could be inset, it could be onset, it could be whatever it is that you want it to do. So if we came back out and selected this and said I want to go to a different kind of top, you'll see that this was for inset. I'll go to onset and select that. Now again with cams for it behaving this way. So now that has been selected, it's going to now behave completely different. Notice that the top is now onset. I need to get rid of my dowels for that. I apologize, but I made it happen with this. So if you'll notice that the top is now onset and the cam and connecting bolts are now in this direction because the top got longer and the sides got shorter, and so it knew to automatically change the machining.
Okay, I see dowels and cams in that one.
I just picked one that had a fixed deal in it, but you can see, just ignore the dowels for a moment. You'll see that we did it with cams, and they all became vertical as soon as I chose a onset top instead of an inset top.
Yeah. Can you do a miter? And that's my last question, and then we can move on.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I wanted to, I could select more than one edge of an object. So let's say that I wanted to take this and I wanted to be able to select this and this. Maybe can I do that? I'm playing for a moment. This way.
cambiando.
Give me a second.
Va a cambiar de lado para que veas cómo nomás tocando de gusta las piezas, automáticamente te cambia el cambio.
Y los cerrajes.
Los cerrajes.
Es velocidad.
Okay.
Oops.
So
No,
let's make it look like this.
¿Por qué va a usar en inglés?
No, no. Okay, let me point that. We got.
Okay, so now we've got a number of things that we could do for this. So what we can see is that we have this object, just a simple case in this deal. If I wanted to be able to change the edging for this, or I wanted to change how these edges, so we see that it's inset. Now if I take this, I could literally say that I want to make this into a mitered joint, so you'll see I can go from any way that we want. And so now if I click this button, I haven't told it to update the hardware, but if you'll see, it now became a mitered joint. So if we looked at the front of this, we would now see that we mitered that particular joint. I would create a rule in this if I were going to be doing that kind of construction so that it would automatically place appropriate hardware for it if it happened to be a mitered situation like that. So that one side just became a miter. Let's click on this side so we can see that it is an inset. And again, if I wanted, I can even have it different from one side to another. So now I made this one to behave as an onset and this one mitered. So you can treat each individual edge the way that you want.
Okay, very good. Well, what do you want to look? What do you want to show us next? I think we got a pretty clear idea. Excellent.
Yeah, really about what you guys need. You know, one of the things that we did last time that we haven't this time is we haven't explored the object designer, where I would build things like firewalls, reception centers, nurses stations, that kind of stuff. So I don't know whether that's important to see in this meeting or not.
Well, if you could do something, that's where you do the crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, we'd like to see it. I mean, I don't want to burn up too much of your time, and these guys are.
No, it's my pleasure. Listen.
At some point, because the plant stops when they walk out. But yeah, something in the object designer would be good. Vamos a hacer un. ¿Sí sabes qué es object designer? Object designer in AutoCAD.
Okay, the only thing that I did, was AutoCAD to create a shape, and I'm going to say I want to make a new object designer article, and I'm going to tell this that I want to define some top view segments. So imagine that I'm kind of determining where that I might want to have some vertical ribs. I'm going to offset those off the line. I'm going to array this along the polyline shape that we've created, so I'll tell it path. And so now I'm going to get a number of these. I'm going to set a center distance for this. I'm going to explode. I'm going to explode this so that I can work with them individually. I'm going to go over choose what AutoCAD decided, and I'm going to be able to copy additional positions that I might want. And here I'm going to copy this from here to here, and I'm going to take this, and I want to move these two in a group, and I want to get them right where I want that to be. I'm going to draw a little construction line, tell it where I want that to go, come back over and say, okay, now I want to create a side view segment for this. So I'm going to start building the sectional view of this. I'm going to tell this, let's go up like 34 inches, let's come in a couple, let's go up a couple, let's go out a couple, let's go up like 10 more, and let's recreate this and say that I want to start here. I want to make a side view segment, and we're going to tell this to be at that distance. We're going to take this and put it on that side of the line. Let's come down here like 22. Let's jet in a couple down. Maybe this is the customer side, so maybe we got to have some kind of a aluminum extrusion or something like that that we want to deal with, and let's tell this at 12 inches. take this, stick it on this side, drop back, and I want to make this kick plate, and we'll make this 4.75. One more. So the only thing that I did was make a sectional view of this, and I'm going to use AutoCAD command to create a polyline for this. So I just made a new polyline. I'm going to temporarily hide a couple of elements. I want to be able to select this and this. So now I can see my AutoCAD polyline. I'm going to take this and drag it down like 1/4 of an inch so it penetrates the other parts, so we could dado those in, and I'll bump this up like 1/4 of an inch. Now let's show all of these parts and elements. So now what can we do? I want to be able to take this and to say I want to make parts from 2 views. Let's go take this polyline and all of this, and I'll only remove from my selection this and the polyline. And so now we've created all of the vertical studs, ribbing, verticals, whatever you want to call those for this. We could look at them and see that they're all here and available. I also want to work on this one more time and make parts from 2 views. I'll take all these sectional views and this polyline path, and I'll remove from my selection this original polyline and say that I want to make all of the parts for this. So it's going to go extrude all of those parts, and I just gave it the location that I want it to know in reference to the polyline that I created, so that everything fits exactly as it should. So now if we look at this, we have built this object, and this is just as ready for manufacturing as any of the cabinets.
Let me just say that este concept no sé qué es listo para enviar al maquinado y cotizar. Es importante cotizar y maquinar. Oh, it looks good. It's amazing how fast you do that. So.
Yeah, if I wasn't talking my way through it, I could go a little quicker, but you know, when you're trying to explain what you're doing at the same time, it kind of slows you down.
Él me dijo, hablando y dibujando al mismo tiempo es un poco lento, pero cuando no está hablando, puedes dibujar un poco más rápido. So, realmente, con experiencia y con todas las herramientas en el dibujo, tú puedes hacer un dibujo muy complejo en minutos, pero no está explicando al mismo tiempo. Okay. Go ahead.
Good. So I need you once again to tell me if there's other things that you want to see or know, or how can I help?
No, I think for the drawing abilities, I think we've got a really good idea.
Okay. So we do manufacturing output as well, reports, labels, all that kind of stuff, whatever it is that you need help with, that's what we do.
Okay. Cualquier reporte. I mean, purchase, compras, I mean, cualquier reporte que tú quieras. I'm just saying, any report that we could possibly need, we can generate.
Yeah, so this data is all in an SQL open database. So we use Microsoft reporting services, or you could use something else if you want. You know, it's just a database. So we use Microsoft reporting services, so you could create and customize whatever reports that you want.
What I'd like to see now is going to the creating G code.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we were in CutRight, remember I pushed on that there was one button that you do to send the actual file to the CNC machine.
Right.
So that was it.
That was it?
Yeah, so every machine takes a different G code, right?
I don't think they noticed that was it. I mean, that would be something we'd sure like to see somehow. How going from CutRight to the machines is kind of an important deal here. And I printed out all the stuff you sent, the other day, and I'm going to show them that as well. But I'm going to explain real quick. Vamos a ver cómo hacen los programas de maquinaria. I just said that we're going to show them now how do we create the machine program.
So this is where we were before. There was the results of the saw. There was the results of the router. If you want to send it to the saw, You literally click this button.
Okay, don't click it yet. Let me say something. This is las optimizaciones que hicimos antes. Una para sierra, otra para router. Okay, go ahead, click the button. Y ahorita nada más con un...
I mean, I'm on a computer. I'm not connected up to any machine, so I'm not making any files, right?
Oh, okay. But can we see what the code looks like, or that can't happen here?
Show them.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, I mean, like, I just clicked this one for CNC. This was to make an NPR file. So I just generated the NPR files. So if we went and looked at a file, I don't even know where this stuff
Sean,
lives.
go back. Sean, if you go back to a single pattern and double click it, it'll show you the code. Down below it says instructions. There's the code.
Yeah, that's not it. So anyway, this is the way that it would look.
Bueno, más o menos toca este botón y haces el código G. Y no podemos ver el código G porque no tenemos routers conectados. El programa no sabe para qué máquina enviarla. So, cuando quieres la lista de corte, tocar el botón y aquí es el código G. So, and there's just an endless amount of reports, I know that. I think we've got a pretty good idea. You know, we can design, we can quote, we can manufacture, we can print barcodes, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So here is a version of code. I mean, but it's always specific to every machine. So this isn't going to necessarily look like what you're looking for. This is an NPR file that was generated for a wiki machine, but we make a post-processor for whatever machines you have.
I understand that. This is código generado por un máquina marca wiki. So nuestro código por los shows va a ser diferente. Sí. Pero aquí es el código para hacer CDT. Okay, that's enough. I think we got that. So it's the media center. I mean, código G, puedes enviar las máquinas y los cierres. And maybe what do the barcodes look like? Is there a way to see that, or?
What does a barcode look like? It's a font. So it's generally called a Windows 3 of 9 font. So it's basically generally when you're using it in a label or something like that, it's usually done so that you can scan it, and all that it's doing is being able to scan and read what it really is, which is a file location and a file name.
Okay.
You know, so like as an example, if I typed in something like C:program files / blah, 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 whatever this is, if I change this font type so that it is, I don't even know if I have 3 of 9 on this, but I mean, that's all that it is, right? So it's just a format of there's one.
This is ejemplos que hicimos ayer. Es una optimización por esta silla y ese es el código G.
So now that just became a barcode, right?
Yep.
That's all that you're doing when you're making a label, is telling it the font of whatever text that you want to apply there.
Okay. I think we've got a pretty good idea here. I mean, I don't really think I need to do too much more. What I need to do is just sit here and answer some questions they might have, which I have a good enough idea how to do that. And
yeah, I think the only final statement I'd like to make is that, you know, in reviewing what they do, I don't think that WoodCAD CAM replaces 100%. I think that the application specifically for the seating and some of that kind of stuff very much lends itself to solid modeling. But I also believe that being able to manage an entire library of products, cabinetry, This kind of stuff gives some great, great advantages way beyond what solid modeling can do.
Yep. No, that makes a lot of sense to me, and I'll explain that here in just a second. But I think we see that, you know. I think we've gone through the demo enough times with enough different people. I think we pretty much got the overall gist of what it can do, because we know what we can do now, and we know how much of the work is done by hand, and that's just not good. So, well, I guess for me, I guess we're done. We're good.